Pittsburgh CLO's 2026 PNC Summer of Musicals. Feel the music with Beautiful, the Carole King musical, the inspiring story of a girl from Brooklyn who became a chart-topping legend. Mean Girls, the fiercely funny smash hit musical based on Tina Fey's hit film. And don't miss the Tony Award-winning sensation, Suffs, the bold, brilliant story of the women who fought tirelessly for the right to vote. 3 must-see shows, 1 unforgettable summer of musicals. This June and July at the Benedum Center. Get your tickets today. PittsburghCLO.org.
Today's episode is supported by AIDS-Free Pittsburgh. There are more than 5,000 people living with HIV in southwestern Pennsylvania, and the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program provides support services to help them get the care they need. That includes assistance with things like healthcare, medications, housing, transportation, food, and treatment for substance use disorders. Visit AIDSFreePittsburgh.org to learn more.
This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Colin, Sophia, what is something you really should throw away, but you cannot bring yourself to do it?
So my garage is starting to look a little bit like a hoard because of all the scrap wood that I have piled against one wall. So there's like...
Scrap wood from where for what?
From a lot of it was from when I rebuilt our shed. Some of it is from when I built some shelves in our house. Some of it is from a previous resident of the house who also clearly had problems throwing things away.
Oh, I think that wood should have definitely gone a long time ago.
So yeah, we got stacks. If you need some plywood, hit me up.
You know, I actually do, so I will talk to you about that offline.
Okay.
Sophia, what about you? What should you get rid of?
I'm looking at my desk right now, and honestly, half the stuff cluttering it.
Okay, if it's on your desk right now, I don't know that this is going to be on the same level as Colin's wood hoard.
No, but also, like, what is this? What is this a sticker for? Is it a logo?
Know.
I don't know where I got this.
It looks kind of like the History Centers thing, but it's not the gear. It's close.
No, yeah. There's just a bunch of random stickers, business cards. I don't know. The business cards I could probably collect, but there's so much.
Sophia, yours is treats. You have surrounded yourself with too many meaningless treats.
Whoops. I overtreated. I didn't think that was possible.
Mine is definitely party gowns from somewhere between 1998 and 2004. Like, I don't know why they're still in the closet, but they are.
It'll come back around.
All still there. So are all of my heels from back when bodycon dresses on the South Side were a thing I was willing to engage in. Someday you're going to walk into a Goodwill and just look and be like, Batty down. Okay, she gave up the life today.
I feel like you're probably sitting on like at least, a few $100s worth of clothes there, just given the way fashion has kind of come full circle.
Maybe. I mean, the real money is in my dad's T-shirt collection from the 80s and 90s. Like, I think that actually could bring me a top dollar at one of the consignment shops. I am talking to producer Sophia Lo and CityCast Pittsburgh contributor and City Paper managing editor Colin Williams. We got a big show today talking about City Council's latest effort to pass something first and figure out whether it will actually matter later. This is all around gambling and skill games, which the state is also super invested in right now. There's also been a new analysis that found Pittsburghers love to complain, which of course we knew, but about one specific thing, and a sort of sportsy edition of wins, losses, and things to know this week. And then on today's members-only bonus segment, we're going to be gearing up for Anthrocon.
Yes.
So this is when the international furry community celebrates and congregates in downtown Pittsburgh. It kicks off next weekend. And for members only, we are going to be sharing our favorite ways to enjoy the festivities without committing to a fursona. You do not need to be in the community to appreciate the community.
But if this is your call to get a fursona, I'm also totally for it. Maybe
Yes,
you'll find some
same.
inspiration there.
Absolutely. We'll start with gambling. City Council is up to some tomfoolery again. So earlier this week, they pulled some parliamentary strings, I'll be nice, to do a preliminary and a final vote within minutes of each other on the same day to push through a local tax on skill games.
And skill games are those machines that you see in gas stations, convenience stores, even standalone stores. It's like online poker, like video slot machines, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's essentially a way to like get gambling machines into non-casino locations using just a whole bunch of like loopholes and trickery.
You can see how we feel about this on the front end. And there are tons of these things. I did not realize until all the reporting the last few weeks, there are 70,000 of them estimated statewide.
It feels like there are more to me, but
Really?
sure.
Yeah, I was going to say that feels like an undercount because I've seen recently that like empty storefronts have filled up with these essentially like ad hoc casinos. You're seeing them in gas stations. You're seeing them in grocery stores. Like these skill game machines are absolutely everywhere in Pennsylvania right now.
And I've heard that in some places they're more prevalent in rural areas because, like you said, Colin, like, there might be an empty storefront. And, where back in the day you might have had like a pool hall or something, like this is now becoming a different way or place for people to congregate, not necessarily in a good way. So we're talking about all of this because the state Supreme Court ruled a few days ago that skill games are effectively the same thing as a slot machine, which are in casinos and are taxed by the state. Slot machines cannot uniquely be taxed by local governments in most cases. So state lawmakers now have 120 days to decide what to do with them. And there are a whole bunch of options.
Yeah, so one option is that lawmakers could levy the same tax as slot machines. So this is 52%, and this is Governor Josh Shapiro's preference.
Yeah, the Senate GOP, meanwhile, is saying that they want a 36% tax. So they're looking for a lower threshold by which they can gather some revenue from these. The possibility is there that they could just do away with skill games altogether, which I think public health officials kind of agree in this moment of kind of a gambling crisis, you could say, where so many people are losing their shirts on sports betting and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, the understanding here is that this is also a revenue source and the state is probably not likely to pick that option. Regardless, it's just kind of like, where does this money go?
Right. That's the part that's interesting to me. Yeah.
So city council clearly thinks that some of this money should stay in Pittsburgh. So the city council is kind of passing this as a way to sort of preempt some of the stuff that might happen in 120 days with the state. Obviously, the state feels like they should get some money from it.
And they have been getting a lot of money from slot machines and other types of gambling. This would just be a new one.
Yeah, so it would kind of add to that pile. Meanwhile, I think it is also like a real question of like, if this is making money for potential business owners or people who are renting out some of these storefronts, I'm sure they're going to want a cut of that money as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then also, even within those buckets, like who keeps the money, it's, well, should the tax revenue then go to a specific place? Like, should it fund education? Should it fund stuff for older folks? Should it fund transit? And they have all of these things to figure out.
I will note as well at this point that the lottery, touts itself as this way of funding services for seniors in Pennsylvania. The state lottery has actually apparently taken a pretty big hit amid the rise of these skill games because fewer people are buying lottery tickets and more people are sitting in, let's say, your local Sunoco playing effectively slot machines.
And my whole family works in long-term care at nursing homes. I can't tell where this money is going. And not every state does it this way. Like in Tennessee, the lottery funds scholarships for young people. So like if you meet certain thresholds, like for merit or for financial need, you get certain levels of scholarship. Proud Tennessee lottery scholarship recipient years and years ago. But that was easy to track. I feel like it's much more difficult in Pennsylvania to track what this large bucket of senior care actually means.
Yeah, and I know for a fact as well that some of these skill games are in the hands of various companies. So there might be a cut going to the business owners. There might be a cut going to the person who actually owns the machines themselves. So lots of ambiguity here. I will say also, Pennsylvania, it's that time again. The state budget is due on Tuesday, June 30th, next week. So
we are
this
basically always late for it, though. So I'm not expecting it to come around next week.
Oh, I am definitely not holding my breath on that one either. But with all this up in the air, basically the issue of skill games becomes a little bit more pressing. State lawmakers are probably hoping that they can assume that they're going to get at least a little bit of this skill games money. So we'll see how long this whole budget process takes and what role all of this plays in it. In Pittsburgh, City Council's new law, though, is expected to bring in about $2 to $3 million for the city. Listeners, will all probably know at this point that the city of Pittsburgh has been having a bit of a budget crunch in recent years. But $2 to $3 million is kind of a wide range, and city council members seemed like they were maybe a little unclear about the particulars here and how much they would actually bring in.
They were so confused in the city council meeting. Like, it was a fascinating exercise in political theater watching this whole thing.
But, to your point, Colin, about Pittsburgh being a budget deficit, I saw recent reporting from Trib Live that said the city is going to end this year with a $24 million budget deficit, which
That
is
number
a
keeps
smaller
changing.
number than before. But like 2 to 3 million is not really a dent in that. So we still definitely need other solutions.
And there are still so many questions to be answered about how they're actually going to collect this money and enforce the rules that they want to impose. Like, who gets licenses to operate these things? Are there going to be age restrictions? Would that be 18 or 21? Are there limits on kind of where these can go? So there's like a lot of different angles of this, both on the consumer protection side, on the budgetary side. It's quite the conundrum, and it feels like this is one of those things where the toothpaste all sort of got squeezed out of the tube at once, and now we have to figure out how to put bits of it back in.
Yeah, it's a lot of open questions. And I mean, I feel like in good governance structures, which I mean, most of our Capitol watchers are like, that's not what Pennsylvania has. These are solvable problems and questions that are like completely reasonable to be asking. But like to your point about, the budget, Colin, like in a perfect world, they would solve this or at least solve a portion of it before the budget gets passed on time. None of that's going to happen. Like the best guess I got from some of our Capitol reporter friends is like they'll probably figure it out in the fall and they'll just invent an educated guess of a number to put into the budget that gets passed. And then they'll figure out how to backwards math their way into that come like September, October, November. None of that is a healthy way to govern.
I love this new trend that we're in as a country of just like rule by vibes, legislating based on vibes.
But it doesn't have to be this way.
Well, whatever the state ends up deciding here in Pittsburgh, City Council is hoping that, what they
Clearly
did with
hoping.
these, yes,
Big hoping energy
2
here.
very fast votes to push this through, like what they passed will be honored and just sort of will be grandfathered in so we can still get that money. There's no way to actually know, so we'll be watching this to see what actually happens, but council has, planted their flag. And in terms of how the numbers actually break down, so in the city, the tax is going to be $1,000 a year for skill games like poker, video slot machines, $100 a year for things like claw machines and things you don't win actual money from, like if you're getting stuffed animals or candy. So,
is it for kids' games too? I didn't actually realize that.
And then this is the thing that I find the silliest, $10 a year for pool tables, darts, pinball, shuffleboard. Question I have is, what if your shuffleboard is set up and then gets taken away? Does that count?
I think
Yeah,
then
do they
it's like anything
prorate it?
else. Yeah, you maybe you prorate your shuffleboard. I
A
don't know.
$1 tax for your shuffleboard.
That you
but-
only had in the month of January and 1 week of February. Yeah, why not?
But, some businesses have a ton of arcade games or poker games. So there is an amendment that Councilman Coghill proposed, and it also went through. So this tax has a 10 machine cap. It won't absolutely like bankrupt a business.
So if you're an empty storefront who has 100 skill games all of a sudden, they're only going to be taxing 10 of these?
Sounds like it.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's another question the state can answer too. Like in that enforcement piece, Colin, they could decide that too. Like you can only have certain number of skill games in your business, or you can only have a certain number of skill games represented in a geographical area. Like maybe the city of Pittsburgh could only have 1,000 skill games spread out all across, kind of the same way we license like a fine wine and good spirit store or a liquor license. Like it would not surprise me if we land in a place like that where like it becomes like a coveted piece of paper that gets passed from friend to friend.
To my view, this is all a little bit silly given some of the rhetoric around it, because what we clearly have on our hands nationwide is a growing public health crisis around addiction to gambling. And this is something that city lawmakers are acknowledging openly in the conversations that they've had around this, even as they're kind of like figuring out the parameters of this law. Coghill, for example, said to the Post-Gazette that the industry needs to be regulated and is, quote, preying on an addiction. And Bob Charland, I think, to WESA had probably my favorite quote on this issue, which is that skill games are a pox on our neighborhoods.
I don't know that he's wrong.
No, I think this is very actually related to conversations we've had on this program about vape shops as well. The ways in which this has influences related to public health, related to people basically just wasting their money, related to kind of frivolous use of empty real estate. It's a very similar conversation, and the rhetoric has been very similar from city officials as well.
And I'll end us with a story that I saw in Penn Live. It was from reporter Oliver Morrison, who has since gone back to public source, so still reporting here in the area. But he did this deep dive on gambling as a public health issue in Pennsylvania, and some of the stats in it are going to stick with me for a while. So I just thought I would share some of them here. The story's paywalled, so Oliver was like, "Yes, please share widely for folks who do not have a subscription." So Pennsylvania is second in the nation for gambling revenue. We have quietly grown so much, but without the reputation of the number one state, which is Nevada.
Vegas.
Of course.
But we bring in $2.8 billion in annual tax revenue. Only Nevada brings in more. The problem is that last year our tax revenue grew 10 times faster than Nevada. So it's possible we overtake them soon. And none of this is happening because of casinos, mind you. It's happening because of phones. We're one of a handful of states. I think it's 13, 14, somewhere in that range of states that are allowing sports betting, online gambling, things like that. And we are by far the largest state by population to do that. So last year, Pennsylvanians lost more money gambling online than residents in any other state.
Oh, no.
We lost more online than in all of our 17 physical casinos combined. Imagine how much money is flowing through all those casinos we have, like the real ones, like Rivers. And people are losing more on their phones from their couch. In terms of ad revenue, Philly is getting more ads for online betting than New York or even Vegas.
That makes sense because I drive across the state to New Jersey a couple times a year, and I definitely have seen a ton of gambling ads around Philly, even more than the lawyer ads.
Well, I mean, we get a ton of them here in Pittsburgh, so I can only imagine what more feels like. And just to take a step back here, the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, who is in charge of all of this, they think it's all a great thing. Billions in taxes, 16,000 jobs that are represented in this industry. But none of that is accounting for people's low credit scores, domestic violence, bankruptcy, families being displaced, the cost of addiction treatment. And the interesting thing to me that I think we're going to be watching the ripple effects for years to come is that we are just starting to calculate the full scope of the cost of all of this. Pennsylvania just did its first kind of study trying to get a handle on it, the number of people in gambling disorder or people who have voluntarily banned themselves from gambling. It is growing exponentially, and it is being compared openly by public health experts as the early days of the opioid crisis. It's that bad. And so far, Pennsylvania leaders are just not hearing it. They're just yeah, this is a good thing, full stop.
It's going to be, I would love to hear a quote from former Pittsburgh Mayor Ed Gainey about this, who's now at the gambling board, and, whether he thinks this is a good thing unequivocally or what. Because I will say, just anecdotally, it seems like for all of these issues where you're talking about, $2.8 billion in annual tax revenue. Okay, great. If you sell $2.8 billion of cigarettes, you're going to make some money, but you're also going to potentially cost people way more than that in public health costs. So this is taxing local hospitals. This is potentially taxing local law enforcement. This is going to have a knock-on effect on families, and all of that stuff also costs money.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Which is why I hope that in all of this conversation about skill games that we get more nuance from our lawmakers about their feelings on all of this. You can't ignore statistics like that forever. If Penn Live's reporting about it, I'm sure others are too. Penn Live also, by the way, has a thing at the bottom of the story that reminds you that they also derive revenue from advertorials on their website, pointing people to online gambling. This is such an insidious problem. It's so gross. But they have to put that disclaimer on an otherwise very good story about gambling addiction.
Well, I would say worth a quick mention before we wrap up here, talking about city revenue. This is also coming amid, as we touched on, the Pittsburgh budget crisis. The city is actually preparing to announce another big multi-year, multi-million-dollar partnership as we're about to record this. So in the next couple hours, Corey O'Connor will announce this. This is another piece of this sort of trying to find a working relationship with the big five nonprofits who don't pay property taxes.
We assume that. We don't know. Yeah, we all got an email just being this is coming, but we don't know who the partnership is with. But I mean, the guess, of course, is that it's going to be one of the big five, and maybe Highmark Health, AHN, because they're the biggest players that hasn't announced anything yet.
Well, in any case, as
guess.
you're listening to this, make sure you double check your CityCast newsletter this morning, which will have more details on this forthcoming announcement from Mayor O'Connor, attempting to solve our city's budget woes.
Yes, we don't know, but by the time you hear this, you will. Today's episode is sponsored by the Frick Pittsburgh Museums and Gardens. If you want a taste of Paris right here in Pittsburgh, their next exhibition is perfect. French Modern's Matisse Renoir Degas is coming very soon. We're getting in work from really famous French artists, painters, and sculptors, folks like Cézanne and Rodin. And you don't need to be a dedicated student of art history to appreciate this work. Yes, they are legends now, but back in their day, these artists were considered radicals. And some really put a foundational mark on art movements that we still celebrate today. Things like realism, impressionism, cubism, surrealism, and more. I feel like it's easy to forget, but it's in part because of artists and masterworks like these that we think about Paris and Parisian culture the way we still do today. I, for one, am really excited to see this exhibition, maybe chase it with a stop by the Frick's little cafe and a stroll through the gardens. It's going to be so much fun. Look for French Modern's Matisse Renoir Degas at the Frick starting June 20th and get your tickets at thefrickpittsburgh.org. CityCast Pittsburgh is brought to you today by Quantum Theater. You know, I meet a lot of people that are trying to get into Pittsburgh's theater scene. They're trying a show here or there. I want to recommend Quantum. They've got a show coming up called The Tempest. Director Carla Booz has been involved in our art scene here for more than 30 years, and she is ending her time with Quantum on a high note. She is directing Shakespeare's The Tempest. It's this epic play that's all about power, revenge, forgiveness, transformation. And y'all, they found the perfect setting, the Carrie Blast Furnaces over in Rankin. If you have never been, it's like stepping back in time. And since Quantum is all about immersive experiences, I am betting the audience is going to get a unique taste of all that metal and machinery right there on the Mon. If you haven't checked out Quantum yet, now is your time. The Tempest opens July 17th and runs through August 23rd. Get your tickets today at quantumtheater.com/tempest. Okay, we are going to move on to trash. There's been some interesting reporting. So Public Source put out this piece, I guess a couple of weeks ago now, talking about how there has been just this wildly dramatic increase in people complaining about trash pickup. I love it when Pittsburghers get on their high horse about things, but like this one feels like the most basic thing that a city and leadership have to get right.
And, you know, Public Source found this out by digging into data from 311 calls, and they found out that there are more than 10,000 trash complaints per year. And there was like a massive spike during COVID. So like I said, they dug into the numbers. If we go back to 2019, complaints are just around a little bit under 6,000. And then they hit a high in 2024 with over 12,000 calls. And there isn't like one single reason, according to city officials, why there are so many complaints.
Because we love to fuss and stuff doesn't happen on time. We love it.
The one aspect of this story that I think really mirrors some of the other issues that we've had in the city is that residents in certain parts of town are saying that the issue has been particularly bad for them. And it's interesting that it's not Oakland, right? You would think South Oakland, with all the couches getting thrown away and all that stuff and pizza boxes, would be seeing a lot of issues with trash collection.
But I feel like college students
not going to
they're
call.
not complaining.
Yeah.
Like they're not calling the city mad that like the trash didn't get picked up. They have a much higher threshold for complaint.
Yeah, I very much remember leaving a couch and then leaving town. I was like, I'm leaving the apartment.
Yeah,
goodbye,
it's not
couch.
my problem.
Yep,
goodbye, college town.
But so residents have said that these issues have been particularly acute in the East End and in the South Hills and Hilltop neighborhoods. There have also been issues in the Hill District. Public Source's map actually shows that the West End Village, Chartiers City, which is kind of on the northwestern edge of town near McKees Rocks, St. Clair in the South Hills, and Polish Hill have been seeing a lot of issues with residents complaining about trash not getting picked up. It made me wonder if this maybe has something to do with topography. A lot of these neighborhoods are pretty kind of densely packed into a little valley, or they sit on like a steep slope. And also of note is that the actual tonnage of trash during this time has gone down. The Bureau of Environmental Services actually says that people cleaned out a ton of trash during COVID. So there was this big spike in tonnage of trash in 2020, but we're actually
the
below
Marie Kondo era where everyone was going through their junk.
Right? Nothing sparked joy anymore. So Pittsburghers had to get rid of that, you know,
Except
ancient
for your wood,
pirates.
Colin. Your wood continues to spark joy.
Oh, it sparks so much joy. All the projects that I have yet to do when I have time that I don't have. But we're actually below 2019's trash total. So it's not as if they're picking up more trash here.
And, you know, if you've had these problems, I think it is very much worth a call to 311. Like,
Yes.
I'm not in one of those neighborhoods with a ton of problems, but I've had a few trash missed pickups in the past few months. I think my problem is that there's a bunch of construction in my surrounding streets. But luckily, I'm very grateful that when I've made a call to 311, they've usually been able to pick it up within the day.
Well, and I just keep going back to like I feel like every city official that I have talked to for years now, like they're very unequivocal. Like if you want to get reelected, no matter what kind of office you have, if it's city council, if it's controller, if it's mayor, whatever, you have to do the basics like pick up trash. If you leave a trashy city, you will not get reelected. So this is like an interesting barometer, and it's looking backwards, right? Like it's not, this isn't Corey O'Connor's like administration yet, but will the statistics change? And I don't know. And that's not really a knock on Gainey either. Like COVID threw everything up in the air and there was a lot of wild weather, but it's interesting. And I would love to see data like this over time and how it changes or doesn't, you know?
Especially since Corey's been talking about redding up for ages.
Yeah.
Like this is definitely a focus for
But
him.
we were redding up for the draft. Are we redding up for ourselves now? I haven't actually heard an update.
Corey, let us know.
If you don't love yourself, how the hell are you supposed to love somebody else? That's what I got to say
Wow.
about that.
Okay, Colin.
Can I get an amen?
So I will add to this as well. City Paper had a really fun piece out about the way that this is actually not that new of a problem. So David S. Rotenstein, who's done
Okay, you have the receipts for the background. Yes, bring it.
we've got the receipts. So David S. Rotenstein actually has the receipts. He does some really awesome writing for us around Pittsburgh history and local lore.
He's been on the show before. David, you need to come back on. We miss you, bud.
Yeah, get David back on the show for sure. He's got some cool stuff coming out for us, so keep an eye out for that in the next few weeks here. But so in the 30s, apparently, the city was having just a complete issue with overflowing trash. And I learned through David's piece that apparently when litter would accumulate on the streets, locals took to calling these heaps of garbage hokey piles. So this is my new favorite Yinzer term. I'm going to start looking for things to call hokey piles now.
See, that sounds like a fun thing I could climb on, not trash.
Well,
Maybe
I mean,
it's both,
I guess,
Sophia, it depends on what the trash is.
I don't want to climb in trash.
yeah, where there's a will, there's a way here. But so the city's solution was that they were going to build this incinerator. So they found this property in Lawrenceville that had previously been used for industrial uses. And unfortunately, they sort of underprepared. They didn't get enough trucks to supply this incinerator with actual garbage. And then the incinerator itself was overwhelmed with the amount of garbage they were trying to burn. So what the city ended up doing was taking this sort of half burnt, literally, it was called at one point in a quote in an article at the time, toasted garbage, down behind Highland Park and Morningside, and just dumping this sort of like lightly singed trash into a ravine that is now the zoo's parking lot. And so residents weren't having this. It turned into this whole local media storm. There were a lot of kind of political jockeying about who was responsible there for all this toasted garbage. And it took about a year for it to actually get resolved, where they stopped dumping in that site and they were able to, kind of get caught up a little bit more and figure out other ways of disposing of the trash. But all of this just really reminded me of this trash pickup story, which is why we ran it this week. And the anecdotes in it are very funny, as they are in many of David's stories. I guess the moral of the story here, and even for the neighbors complaining to 311 perhaps, is that however bad and smelly you think Pittsburgh might be now, it did always used to be worse.
All right, we've got a couple of shout outs from our CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors. These are our members, folks that support us, and we so appreciate it. If you want to join them, you can do so by becoming a member at membership.citycast.fm.
Yes, today's shout out comes from Megan S., and she is shouting out Monday's Brewing in Greenfield. It's where Huff's used to be. And Megan says that Monday's is a really great local bar. And, obviously they have a ton of beer, but they've also got wine, cider, and even mead. I think that's really fun. Megan is partial to the Screaming Toddler beer, so immediately went to look it up. It's not listed on their website right now, but they do have a dad bod if you're drinking for the names. Megan also recommends checking out their trivia on Mondays. They've also got food from Smash and Fried there, and her husband loves the wings. Thank you so much, Megan, for telling us exactly how to experience Mondays. And if you want to share your favorite local business or nonprofit on the podcast, tell us your favorite beer, you can become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor and send us your shout out. We'll put it in here as well as our newsletter. And you can join today at membership.citycast.fm.
Megan, thank you for that. I feel like I've gotten several recommendations for the thing that Huff's used to be. So this is just further encouragement to go check that out. Welcome also to our newest neighbors, Michael W., Jeremy B., and Lynn F. Lynn, I'm going to shout you out again because you're the one who shamed me at a table and inspired our new game where we played Two Truths and a Lie, or as it was, Sophia, for you, Two Lies and a Truth.
Two Lies and a Truth.
Colin, anytime somebody's goes out of town, has the audacity to take some time off and take a news break, they come back to a game where they have to figure out what the real news actually was. So that's a warning to you too, Colin. If you take time off, you might be subject to the same game.
Oh, man, I am down to play. That sounds hilarious.
Lynn, you're amazing. And all of our neighbors, thank y'all so much. You can always make a recommendation, influence the show anytime. Hit us up at pittsburgh@citycast.fm. All right, wins, losses, things to know. I think it's mostly positive stuff this week.
Yes, we're leaning into the wins.
We're leaning into the wins this week. The Citizen Science Lab had a win. They have a new headquarters in the long-abandoned Martin Luther King Jr. Reading and Cultural Center on Heron Avenue. So this is great news for the Hill District in a lot of ways. The Citizen Science Lab, first of all, is a nonprofit that's been running for quite some time. They have relationships with about 12 school systems, including some private schools, charter schools, and Pittsburgh Public as well. And what leaders said at the press conference, which I attended on Juneteenth last Friday, was that this really gives kids in the Hill District a tangible vision of themselves as potential scientists. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I loved Summer Lee said was, we've got all these billionaires, I'm paraphrasing here, we've got all these billionaires talking about innovation, but this is actually proof that these kids can get into these careers as well. It's not just for billionaires. So it was a gorgeous day. The facility looks really nice. They've got a chemistry and physics lab. They've got a makerspace that's got 3D printers. There's an attached greenhouse and chicken coop.
That's so much fun. I drove past it and missed the chicken coop. I will have to go back and check it out.
Chickens are disgusting. Yeah. just mind your footwear while you're back there.
Chickens are so fun, though, and I hope that this gets people into maybe some urban chicken farming in the Hill District as well.
Yes, if you're a chicken person, I'm sorry. I was raised around them, and I have a grudge.
But I think one of the most important things about this piece of news and what makes it a win in my book is that this is helping to start fill in that Heron Avenue corridor. If you've driven down there recently, you'll notice that most of it is just mowed fields of grass, knotweed, and a couple abandoned houses. But this is the first real piece in starting to rebuild that part of the Hill District that is a really major connecting artery between Oakland and Polish Hill as well. Summer Lee has also announced that she's secured funding for some affordable housing, and there are some other plans in the works for restoring some of the buildings that exist and building some new properties where folks can live. So this is a good piece, a good step in the right direction in kind of rejuvenating that part of the Hill.
Yeah, I'd completely missed this, Colin, and I feel like I've heard about that Citizen Science Lab for years and did not realize that they didn't have like a physical space like this, where like all of these kids can congregate. It's great to see something grow and get new investment. I'm really hoping this is just like the first in a wave. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
We will move on to another win. This one in our sports world. So women's football here in Pittsburgh, the Passion, they are playoff bound. Colin, you also flagged this for me. You were keeping me in the know this week.
And I just learned we have a women's football team.
Welcome, Sophia.
I think a lot of people actually don't know about these folks, and we're hoping to do some more coverage of their playoff run soon.
I love their name, the Pittsburgh Passion.
There, of course, they play in black and gold. We in Pittsburgh wouldn't have it any other way. Our very talented staff photographer at City Paper, Mars Johnson, went and got shots of their thumping victory over Cincinnati, where they clinched their playoff berth with a 49-0 romp over Cincinnati.
Wow.
So one thing that I actually didn't know until we started covering them a little bit is that the Passion is actually this is a quote from their website, the most recognized women's full contact franchise in the world. They are 3-time undefeated national champions in 2007, 2014, and 2015. So they're going for a 4th title this time around. They have a 5-1 record at the end of the season. They absolutely steamrolled through the national conference. This season, they were playing their home games in Slippery Rock, but their first round of the playoffs is a little bit closer to home. They are going to be taking on the Mile High Blaze tomorrow at Chartiers Valley Stadium outside of Bridgeville. So if you are missing your Steelers action, if you want to support Pittsburgh's women athletes, if you want to see the black and gold, tackling people full contact, check that out tomorrow at Bridgeville. Go Passion.
I'm still laughing at Mile High Blaze. Is that Denver?
Yes, it's Denver.
That is like some peak like sports punnage there, which actually I think is a good transition into our next one, which is a thing to know, maybe a win depending on how you feel about the franchise. The Penguins, the team, has officially been sold to the Hoffman family of companies, which includes a hockey team down in Florida called, I believe, the Everblades.
Oh,
yes,
that's really
the Florida
good.
Everblades. It's a minor league hockey team. Went in a rabbit hole looking at their logos and stuff.
Oh, I haven't done that yet.
Oh, that sounds great. I mean, we've talked about this, I think, before on the show, but the Hoffman family of companies is really plussing up with the Penguins in terms of the size of their operation. The Everblades and some of their other teams that they own are relatively small. A lot of them are minor league teams. So this is an entry into the majors for the Hoffman family of companies. They also own some newspapers scattered throughout the country and real estate as well. And the financial terms of this deal weren't shared, but a report from 2025 had the Pens valued at about $1.75 billion. So it seems like the figure would be around there for the Hoffman's acquisition here.
Yeah, I'm curious what they do, not only like with the team management, but also things like television contracts. Like the team has been suffering ever since we lost Root Sports years ago because we don't have dedicated television revenue coming in anymore. So I'm curious how that plays out. I actually haven't seen fresh reporting on all of that. So maybe things have changed since the last I heard about it. But that was like one of the Penguins' like chief challenges for whatever the new ownership was going to be, at least as of like last year.
This ties in actually to a problem that's happening in baseball now too, where the transition to streaming is starting to put a sort of a dent in local TV revenue, and the league is trying to figure out what a solution might look like there. So Pittsburgh games will remain on Sportsnet Pittsburgh for this upcoming season, but I think what happens after that is a bit more TBD. One last note here is that The Athletic actually recently reported that team sources are apparently, quote, optimistic that Mario Lemieux is going to get back involved with a new ownership. Listeners may recall that he stepped away from the team around the time that Fenway acquired them. So there are no real like details around this or like what his role might be, but I think that would be welcome news to a lot of Yinzers.
And if you don't know who Mario Lemieux is, he was a player for the Penguins years ago when we were very, very good. Left, came back as an owner, had his own villain arc for a minute, and then like saved the team and kept them in Pittsburgh through like some interesting land acquisition. It's all really complicated and fascinating. But anyway, usually the old timers love him.
Lemieux, of note, does still run a charity here in town. So in Bloomfield on Penn Avenue, he's been running the children's home for many, many years. So he remains a local philanthropist and very involved in that way. And yeah, we'll see if he gets back involved with his old team.
So that is it for today's show. CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors get to stick around for our opinions on how to hack Anthrocon. I think it truly is one of our best festivals of the year, but people sleep on it because they don't think it's for them if they're not in the furry community. You are incorrect. You don't have to attend the conference. You do not have to identify as a furry to enjoy it. So we're going to talk about that, but it's for members only. So again, if you would like to join our membership program, if you want to be in the neighborhood, head over to membership.citycast.fm. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. You can support us by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Again, all those details are at membership.citycast.fm. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, Chanterelle, James, Alex Kashkin, Benji, Beautiful, the Carole King musical original Broadway cast recording, and the Suffs original Broadway cast recording, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lo produces the show. Francesca DeBecco writes our newsletter. Adrian Gonzalez is our post-producer. Rachel Carlson is our audience development manager. And I'm your host, Megan Harris. We'll be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all. This is giving me big flashbacks to, I think it was in 1950 or so. There's this photo that's like vividly in my brain from the Heinz History Center where it's what are basically trash trucks, like these big dump trucks dumping snow into the Mon River because like they didn't have places that they could put snow during like major snow events. So I think it was 1950, like after Thanksgiving, they got 27 inches of snow. It's like one of like our highest records ever. It was like a category 5 snowstorm. I think that's what they called it back then. Anyway, there's this photo of the dump truck just like shoving snow into the river, hoping that the river takes it away for us and the city doesn't have to deal with it.